Hello, everyone. This is another episode of your program, The Platform. And actually, it's the continuation of the last episode where we discussed entrepreneurship and marriage. I've got three wonderful people on set with me today, and that's the CEOs of Arabelle Bakery and the CEO of STO Global Concept. Don't go away, and I will be right back. Hello, everyone. I welcome you to another episode of your program, The Platform. At the last episode, I had with me in the studios the CEOs of Arabelle Bakery, the #1 bakery in the whole of Canada, and also I had Gbolahan Oduntan, the CEO of STO Global Concept Incorporated. So, the discussion was so exciting and interesting. In case you haven't seen it, you have to go check that out. And we have to bring them back again into the studio today. So right now, I just want to welcome you guys to the studio once again. I want to kick off from where we stopped at the last episode. And the topic actually was entrepreneurship and marriage. So let's just jump in today and we don't waste our time. So Arabelle Bakery has expanded beyond Winnipeg and the borders of Manitoba. I know that. So how did you overcome your startup challenges?
Well, I think it reminds me of a quote by, I think it was Barack Obama that said, entrepreneurs are people who figure out a way to get it done. So in any business you try to set up, there would always be challenges, but the true spirit of a business person is finding a way to get it done. So every challenge we had along the way, we basically were trying to find the right knowledge to be able to learn better about whatever that challenge was and find a way to circumvent it or improve upon whatever the challenge was. So I think, like we had said in the last episode, one of the biggest challenges we had back then was mentorship, right? And also being able to secure financing and all that. As far as the financing goes, eventually what we decided to do was to just go all in with our own finances.
Yes.
It's often said that you shouldn't really start businesses with your own finances, and that it's better to use a loan. But in our case, we sort of felt like if we really believed in the vision and what we thought the prospect of the business was, we might as well invest
into it. Yeah.
It was quite a gamble, because at that point we basically emptied our savings account into the business. So knowing that it's either you sink or you swim.
Swim. Yeah.
And that sort of helped us with the way we approached the business, because we knew there was no going back. We had basically burnt our ship. we couldn't leave that island.
Yeah.
We had to find a way to make it work. The mentorship, we were never able to find a way around that. We never did find mentors. But there's a book basically out there for every problem that any human being can have, right? There's someone out there that has had the same challenge and written something about it. So what we did then at the beginning was we really threw ourselves into studying and reading a lot of books about businesses, what the pitfalls are, challenges, and what to do to sort of overcome those challenges, which I think really went a long way in sort of helping us to be able to overcome most of those challenges.
So for me, when Akintunde told you that you guys are going to empty your account, savings accounts, I heard that, right, to start a business, how did you feel about that?
I was all in.
Oh yeah.
Because, and this is where God is faithful, I've been given a husband that is a good leader. In fact, there's nothing he does that I question, because over the years, he's always led us right. God has always equipped him to lead us right. And so, I trust him with everything. For years, I didn't even know what was happening with the account. And that was, that was part of what you have to know what is going on.
Yeah.
What if I'm not here? You have to. I'm like, I trust him with everything, and so I wasn't worried because the kind of leader he is to, while he's a risk taker, is a cautious
Risk taker.
risk taker.
Okay. I like the word.
He's like a scientist. He just didn't sink all our money into it right away. There were a lot of, would I say, tests, milestones along the way. You know, before he arrived at that decision.
Okay, so let's say calculated risks,
It was a
right?
calculated risk.
Yes.
So, you know, testing the market, seeing, and he's very good at that. So I did not even, I basically don't even bat an eye at anything he says.
Yeah.
I'm
All in.
I'm always all in.
And Gbolahan, what do you have to share with us on that?
Yeah, regarding overcoming those challenges, we are still at the stage where those challenges are still there. And like Akintunde said, our story is not so much of a difference.
Yes.
We started a business non-for-profit. Who wants to hear non-for-profit? So the first thing that we had to do was to look at, okay, well, how do we navigate through this path? Knowing fully well that there was no one to run to mentor us. We did a lot of study as well. We went on different non-for-profit organizations to really study what their website is, study the individuals on their board to see where they were coming from and how they were walking through their path. So that was like a roadmap for us to walk through. And regarding, like I said at the last episode, our number one challenge was acceptability. And for us to be acceptable, like with our little knowledge of communication, we understood quite well that if we communicated what the vision is to the people or the stakeholders, if they understood well what we are communicating, it would be easy for us. So we leverage so much on communication, both in person, physical communication, writing letters, sharing the vision on different platforms. It was like we were putting those pictures on people's faces to say this is what this is. Being a religious non-for-profit, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, maybe they started a church, right? So on the side of the well-established churches, nobody wanted to lose their congregation, right? So we understood all those dynamics, and we figured out that the best way was to communicate, let them understand what we're up to from the onset. And in the aspect of finance, that's a very tough one. It's a very tough one because we had no startup capital, and our startup capital was basically our finance. And doing a 9-to-5 job, there wasn't any other source through which we could get funds, right? So the first thing we started doing was putting together what we call tithes. So we believe in tithing. So we will put that together, and then when we are having productions or anything, we go back to that tithes and start putting it into what we're doing. So that was how.
So just to be clear, are you saying you were putting aside like a tithe from your income
towards the business?
Okay,
wow. So that was how we started before it got to a stage that we had people come to say, oh, let's support you in this way. And we grew beyond that because, like I said at the last episode, we started production when we were using our phones.
Yes. These are small beginnings.
So along the path, we acquired one camera, and that was how we began to overcome those financial aspects of it. And now I will say a lot of people understand what the vision is, they understand what the concept is about. So it's much easier for them to say, okay, we will support you in this, we will partner with you in that. So it's not been easy.
Not easy.
But,
not easy.
I find it's very important, like you sort of touched on that it's very important to start where you are.
Yes.
I find the embargo to a lot of people starting businesses is that they feel like they don't have everything they need to start.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with business, like you need to start with what you have at hand.
Yes.
And just start in small increments, right? And a lot of times businesses start to grow over
Yeah.
time. If you give it enough time and enough dedication,
Yes,
but
consistency.
It's important that you need to know you wouldn't necessarily have everything,
Everything.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
But just start with whatever you have.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned at the last episode that it's good to run with one's dream, ideas and goals, instead of running after someone else's dream.
Yeah.
Probably if you had left bread making into something else,
Yes.
maybe we wouldn't know who Arabelle is today. And same thing goes with STO Global Concept. So I'll just advise us out there, just run with your vision. Forget all the noises around you, run with your vision.
And if I may add to that,
Yeah.
Your vision and your passion.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you are doing any business that you are not
Passionate about.
you burn out.
Yes. You get tired. Yeah.
Because I remember many times, okay, for us, we could say part of the challenges beyond the finance and acceptability
Right.
is having the time on our part, doing the 9 to 5, and having the time to set out time for production, for planning, for rehearsals, and all
So
that.
many things, yeah.
Many times we ask ourselves, how were we able to pull that through? And I tell you, it's the power of passion.
Passion.
Because it's something we are passionate about.
Yeah.
I could go on and on, jumping, doing recording,
Yeah.
writing scripts. She could go on rehearsals, moving from one ministration to another. But if that passion is not there, hardly can we pull that.
Yeah, let me just shock you. Yeah, in addition to that, we live outside the city, and at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, we are on our way back home from rehearsals.
Wow.
So that is one of the, one thing that I'll say, maybe actually it's consistency, right?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
passion leading to,
Keeps you
because
going.
if there is no passion, I'll get tired.
Yes.
And I know that at times when I get home at 3 a.m., of course, I'm not going to sleep immediately. Maybe I'll sleep like 4:30. And sometimes on Saturday morning, I have to do some other things. I have to wake up again, keep running. But let's thank God for God.
Yeah. I think the power of intention is very important as well. Like, especially when you're starting a business, you sort of have to sit back and ask yourself, what is your intention? And I'm hoping your intention is not just to make money.
That's it.
If the intention for any business you're starting is to make money, then there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Because most of life is powered by our intentions.
Yes.
So you kind of have to sit back at some point and ask yourself, other than money, what is your intention?
Yes.
So that intention is sort of what drives your passion
Yes.
and keeps you going even when everything looks bleak
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's not favorable.
Yes.
And I will say it's the intention that God also blesses.
Yes.
Yes.
He sees the inner man.
Yeah, exactly.
He sees the inner man.
So true.
That's true.
Yeah. You want to say something for me?
Oh no, I'm just agreeing with you.
All right, thank you very much. So a spouse plays such a crucial support role to the business owner that it's imperative to invest in the individual growth of the spouse as well as the entrepreneur. So how do you invest in each other's growth? Let me start with me.
In each other's growth. So I would say identifying one of the things, I mean, with us at least, is that we're able to communicate our needs. Whatever path, whatever dream, whatever growth path or whatever you wanted to follow, it's important to be able to communicate that with each other because you're partners, you're in a team. And as a team, being able to maneuver your daily activities, your daily life, your choices, to be able to support each other's goals. A lot of compromise, a lot of, letting go. Sometimes one person will have to let go of your dream or goal for the greater good.
Yes.
So, and we are so lucky that we have a very good relationship, or we are blessed to have a very good relationship that is based on a very solid foundation of God is the center of this home.
Thank you, Lord. Yes.
So it's easy to be able to support each person, so long as it's meeting, the hierarchy of goals in our family. So, for example, this is just a funny example. I mean, before we decided to start a business, we were both supposed to go to medical school. And I decided I didn't want to do that. I would rather have children. I didn't want to go to medical school and spend 10, 15 years. But my husband still wanted to go to medical school. This was before the business. This was his goal. And I remember he went back to university. I was supporting him. And at some point, we were just like, okay, it's going to take us a while to get into the university here. Should we try the Caribbean? And at some point, it was like, should he go? And then I'll be here, we're thinking, should he go alone? But coming back again and thinking, no, that is not our goal for our family. These are not the principles we've created for our family. Separation is not an option.
It's not an option.
That goal has to go. We cannot separate. So, over time, you just, with proper communication and understanding what are the goals of the family first.
Yeah.
And then helping the spouse or whoever follow those dreams and goals without shifting the foundation of the family.
Yeah, maybe suppressing one's goal for the other person, however, still meeting the same
Exactly.
thing. Akintunde?
Well, so I just wanted to touch on, like earlier she was sort of talking about trusting my leadership and all that. And I think it's important to sort of emphasize that that's not something you arrive at in one day, right? I had mentioned in the last episode that in any partnership or even marriage, it's important to clearly state who the leader is. Like a lot of times when people have challenges in their marriage, it's very hard to know who the leader is. There's not a clarified or designated leader in that union. But often what people think leadership is about is not what it's about. It's not a situation where as the leader of a home, now you're the king, and everybody is going to be serving.
Yeah.
It's the other way around, actually. It's a life of service.
Yes.
Now that you are a leader, you are at the service of the home and everybody in the home.
Yes.
So to be able to get to a point where, my wife can say, oh, I trust him entirely, I had to constantly prove myself. I always have this pressure of always making sure I prove myself to her, right? So every time she can constantly look at my leadership and say, I agree this person is my leader based on his record, right? And that's very important because it's not something you can force. It's not something, you can't beat someone into submission to you. You can only earn that through, working hard at it, proving yourself. So, as the leader of the home and then going into business as partners, like you sort of touched on, it was important to be able to empower her, continue to help her grow as well.
Yes.
But then there's a thin line of helping someone grow, sort of pushing them to maximize their potential and being careful not to break them at the same time.
Yes.
And I think, I wouldn't say I'm an expert at that because I've had my own challenges. I'm always trying to find that fine balance of being able to continue to empower her and sort of push her to achieve things like, what are your visions? What is that thing you're passionate about? Like, I'll buy books for her. Anytime I read a book or hear about a book that I think she might be interested in leadership, I'll give it to her, we would discuss it. And from a spiritual standpoint as well, like we would sit down, study the Bible together and talk about it. And sort of trying to help her grow also spiritually. Because when that foundation is solid, it's easier to build other things on top of it.
Yes.
But the fine balance, again, is how to push someone outside their comfort zone without pushing them away from you, right? It applies to your spouse, it applies to your children.
Yes.
And that's a fine dance that I feel like I haven't mastered. I'm still doing that dance, right? That things can work out well.
Yeah. And you want to add to that?
Yeah, I quite agree with Akintunde and Fumi. When we talk about supporting the spouse, it's about a shared vision. What is the objective that we have as a family or as a couple. I'll share our experiences. Right now, people will see me that, oh, I give so much support to her, I want to push her to do more. But people don't understand there was a time that I was at the forefront and she was also doing the push behind. So it's more like it's a time to reciprocate that, and this is based on the vision that we both shared. I recall when we met, I was going into politics then.
Right, I remember you saying.
And she was not passionate about politics, but she was able to give me the necessary support all through that period. And now we are in Canada. Coming to Canada, we had a different vision, which we shared together, and that's the vision that right now we are pursuing, and I'm supporting to ensure that that vision does not go beyond what we planned it to be. So number one, identifying the strengths, the potentials in your partner is
very important.
It's key.
Very important.
A lot that she's doing right now are potentials that she would never had imagined that, oh, I could do that. I recall back in the days when I would say, oh, Bumi, you can do this. I don't want to do that. But
she's shy.
Yeah, she's shy. There's something I was seeing that she wasn't seeing.
True.
I recall there were times that I would say, oh, you need to do this on your social media. Interestingly, there was even a time that I had to get someone to be handling our social media.
Well, as bad as it is, I hate taking pictures. Don't forget that.
They're on the same boat.
He begs me to take pictures.
I said, you need to take pictures. People need to know you. But she was so shy, so reluctant. There are times I will just have to be the one to take the picture.
Well, how do you pull that balance between wanting to push her to do these things and not sort of push her to a breaking point?
So for that, like I said, there are times I will take those pictures, even if she doesn't want to. There are certain things that I understood what her strength was. I understood that if I'm going this path with her, she might not be able to cope with me. For instance, I'm the type that I wake up now, I'm an instantaneous person. I wake up now, maybe the next thing that comes to my mind is we need to change the setting in the house. I don't need to talk about it.
It's just doing it, and I'm like, what is it?
So, being a woman, she wants to come in and say, don't worry, just do your thing.
Even though I'm not happy anyway.
I have this taken care of. So there are times that I will push certain things to her, and the moment I see that, no, she's going beyond, I go beyond her to do the rescue. So that's understanding her strengths or the strengths of your partner will give you the ability to know what you can put, to know the limits at which you can push. There are times as well that she wants to push herself beyond necessary, and I'm like, no, I'm pulling the plug now.
All right, thank you very much. So guys, we'll quickly go on a short break and we will be right back. Don't go away.
If you live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, get ready for an exciting time this December.
A merry little Christmas now.
As Bumi Praise invites you and your family to a special concert, tagged Praise Without Barriers Christmas Edition, featuring Ayo Sings,
Breakthrough will come in the name.
Nicolette Kigi,
Creation still obeys you so alive.
Alan Palms, Anu Olian, Praise Warriors, Doyen, and Bumi Praise and the exclusive crew. Be our guest as we experience praise, worship, and special songs during this year's Christmas celebration. Date, December 23rd, 2023. Time, 4 p.m. Venue, RCCG Kings and Priest Parish, 50 Scurfield Boulevard, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Admission is free. Praise Without Barriers Christmas Edition. A December to remember. Be there.
A merry little Christmas now.
My parents had hoped that Mary or I would marry some rich white guy. The sickness of poverty needed a cure. The pain had to result in some kind of gain, and daybreak and nightfall would feed our eyes, staring at the waterfall. At least, if manna would no longer come down, water will.
Little did we know that the Father had himself planned for us, from the daily scoops of manna to the bread of life in its entirety, from death to life in eternity. This is heaven come to us in flesh and blood. Heaven is come to us wrapped in a child's warmth. The innocent tears, the loud screams, the crackle and the laughter. Heaven is come to us in an unwanted pregnancy, birthed to us in a manger where divinity suckled on humanity. This is love. Love like God. Love from God. This is love that is God. So come tidings and tinsel. There will be no frankincense, no gold, no myrrh, but praises to the one who was, is, and is to come.
You're welcome back from that short break, and this is still your program, The Platform. And our topic for today, which is the part B of the one we had at the last episode, is entrepreneurship and marriage. And I have my wonderful guests in-house with me. And before going on that short break, we were actually talking about how you invest in each other's growth. So right now, while the growth of a business owner may serve the business well, it can also threaten a marriage. When couples are not growing together, the gap between shared goals and dreams can swallow the relationship. In recent times, the increase in the divorce rate of successful entrepreneurs has been of great concern. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not sure what the exact numbers are in terms of the research today on the prevalence of businesses, starting a business being a risk factor to divorce in a marriage. But what I do know is the quality of a marriage is sort of like the foundation that you build everything else on, right?
Yes.
Like in our example, when we were starting the business, we had been married for quite a few years, right? And I felt like we had a very solid foundation, and everything was good. But the business threw a curveball, right? Even with our solid foundation, or presumed solid foundation that we thought we had, it was a curveball for us to start a business, because now we were starting to realize we had different leadership styles. We had different visions. Sometimes our personalities and temperament comes into running the business, right? And it created a lot of challenges for us. At the beginning, we had so many fights and so many back and forth. I remember there was a time she said to me, I don't want to be in the business anymore. I'm going back to my career, and I'm done, right? But what I realized is that it was a learning experience for us. It sort of reminds me of the story in the Bible of the Tower of Babel. And when people came together and they were building it, the Bible talks about how God came in to inspect what they were doing. And God said, Now that these people are one and they speak one
language.
there's nothing they propose in their heart that they cannot achieve.
Yes.
That applies to marriage. When a couple is one and they speak the same language. And when I say language, I'm not talking about linguistics.
Yeah, sure.
And they speak the same language and are able to communicate in a way that they both hear each other, they're unstoppable.
Yes.
And so for us, it was a journey of coming back to be one in vision, in spirit, in soul, in everything we were doing, and then working on our communication. I think a big part of what we learned from all those challenges was that we had to work on our communication. We created strategies and ways around being able to communicate clearly with each other. This is just what I'm doing, this is how I'm feeling at this point, and I think it made a ton of difference.
It did, it did. It
So
did.
from what do you have to say to that?
I think that one of the things, I know divorce rate will probably be increased in this world now, generally, apart from even in business.
Not, okay, yeah.
And business puts an extra layer of pressure
Yes.
on a marriage. So, but the good thing is this: not every fight in a marriage is necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
There's a good fight.
I believe that starting a business created a good fight for us because it was able to sieve out areas where we needed to work on.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, one of the biggest was communication, communication style, where one person is avoidant, another person is confrontational. You had to learn to, I read books.
To balance both.
I read books. We were reading books. We were listening to podcasts. But one thing, and that's what I would always say, is that when you have a goal and you have God as a foundation in your marriage, divorce is not an option for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know what the effect of divorce
is going to be.
Of what that will be on children. That's not God's goal for us. Sometimes you're not going to be all in love. Sometimes, but there are lines that we would never cross.
Yes.
And divorce is
not an option.
It's one of those that, I'm sure we'll get pushed to the brink where we're thinking, I'm even done with this person. But, so we had to bring out a lot of communication skills, a lot of learning to step back, and a lot of understanding people's strength, your partner's strength and weaknesses. A lot of forgiveness, a lot of honesty, a lot of being able to actually hear when you're being told the truth, even when it is painful. So I think the business overall made me have more respect for us. In fact, it prepared us for a lot of
things,
of other things in our lives, a lot of other challenges, I would say. So, but you also learn that to make your marriage work, you have to invest in it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the word.
Time, quality time. Understanding each other's love language. It would not always be perfect, but continuously we still work on that.
Right.
We're work in progress.
Always.
There's none of us here, we must say, that are marriage experts. We're all students in marriage, and we're just growing and learning.
Like I will always say to intending couples, or when I'm called to counsel people on marriage, I say it's an institution that you already got your award certificate even before starting school. Every other institution, you enroll, you
go through the classes,
you write exams. When you pass, you get a certificate. But in marriage, you enroll. From the day that you are enrolling, you have been given a certificate. So if you pass in the class, good for you. If you fail in the class, good for you. It's not the teacher's fault, it is your fault. So for me, when we're talking about divorce, that is where I come from.
Right.
That I've gotten the certificate. Why did I enroll in the first instance?
Right.
Did I enroll because I want to go back? Or did I enroll because I want to study more, I want to know more, I want to develop myself more in the relationship? So it's a continuous process. And the moment you are able to lay the boundary that this is a no-go area, I tell anybody there's no perfect marriage.
There is no.
Every marriage goes through its ups and downs. Period.
Excellent flows.
And in every situation, you just have to take time to get out what is the message. What are we going through? Why are we going through it? Is it necessary? How can we overcome it? How do we learn from it such that it doesn't repeat itself? So these are the dynamics that we need to bring and understand about marriage. And when we have that knowledge, then we understand that divorce is not an option. Talking about divorce even in business, we started a business because we wanted to grow the business together, right? So if we are contemplating divorce, we're breaking,
We're breaking so many
breaking
things.
the house that's already built.
Built.
And when you look at the effect of divorce, it's not you as a couple alone that are going to suffer the effects. Put aside even the kids, the business you set up. Some people, perhaps, they are leveraging on the success of your business to build themselves. And the moment you divorce yourself, yes, I could start the same business, you could start the same business, but it's not going to be the same. Right. So once you understand that, and we always go through issues in our marriage. There are times I just feel like, no, I've had enough. I don't want to talk about this.
It happens, it's normal.
And I tell her, I think 3 days ago, she was asking me, why do we even quarrel? And I told her that we quarrel because we want the best out of everything
we are doing,
So she's looking at it from this angle, I'm looking at it from the other angle. She believes so much, so strongly in what she's seeing. I believe strongly in what I'm seeing. And except we come together, and that's why the Bible says, can two walk together?
Except they agree.
Except they agree. So divorce will always come when you don't have that balance to see that, we're looking at the same picture, but in different contexts. Can we just step back a little bit and look at it closely? Perhaps we could see the same thing. So I'm the type, I'm the person that's talking about divorce. I close my ears to it. It's not an option. I understand that even having said all this, there are some marriages that still go through issues that divorce may be the last option.
There's some circumstances.
Exactly,
Divorce to be the option. And maybe just to mention one or two, any marriage going through physical abuse.
Life is
threatened.
But if you're talking about, I call them petty issues, right? Petty issues because there are things we could talk about.
Maybe lack of communication.
Most of it comes from lack of communication. I'm assuming. She's assuming.
I think it's important to highlight though that marriage could only be a God idea. Like the concept of marriage, when we move outside religion, we have to kind of agree that it's a crazy idea. Human beings, in the absence of God, human beings would generally not gravitate towards one person marries another person stay together forever. I think polygamy will be the order of the day. But which is why you understand that.
What?
I'm just supporting what. No, he's making a point. No, he's making a point.
Yes, that's true.
He's making a point.
It has to be a God idea.
Yeah.
Two individuals with separate lives,
Backgrounds.
separate background experiences,
Coming
values,
together.
to come together and say we're going to live together
Forever.
better for us. It's a crazy idea.
It's crazy
And
indeed.
I always say to people, because it's a God idea, it can only be sustained by God.
By God. So
It's
we
not
need
a
that
human
foundation.
Invention.
Exactly.
So if you're trying to approach it from a human scientific point of view, you wouldn't get it. It's a God idea that needs God as the foundation.
Yes, absolutely. You have a very, very good
I remember somebody, the generation that we are in, we are so used to when you're uncomfortable, you get up and leave. It's not always going to be rosy.
On the other side.
And if you divorce, it's not rosy on the other side.
Yeah.
Where is this idea that marriage is always la-di-da? Oh,
It's supposed to be on Instagram.
Probably the whole social media saga is causing a whole lot also. Yeah, I think that played a role because social media is not real and a lot is going on the social media. A lot is being, shown there that is fake. But people are not understanding that part, that social media is not real.
It's make believe.
So,
Well, I
thank
think
you.
sometimes what is being posted by couples on social media is not necessarily fake, but it's the highlights of their marriage. When you watch a movie, by watching the snippets of the movie, you wouldn't have really experienced the movie.
Yeah, because couples will not come and post when they are arguing and shouting on themselves on the social media. So I feel people need to understand that part and, maybe make an adjustment or something.
And I think people also need to understand that in marriage, there's a song, when I sing that song now, just watch what the reaction is going to be with my wife. Nobody told me.
You know the song? He sings that all the time.
And that song, I heard it for the first time from
me.
That was about 6 months into our marriage, and we were going through some ups and downs. And there was this day, she just sat down there and she was crying and singing.
I think the song is by Mary.
It's Mary.
that's a very good one.
Oh my God. Thank you very much. So going by the global economic hardship experienced by everyone, what role do you think marriage can play in alleviating the economic hardship experienced by different families? Let's start from you.
Yeah, marriage plays a lot of role, to be honest, if we really understand it, because we live in a world where it's so disintegrated. People are not coming together to work together towards the same goal, yet we want to build a family, we want to build a society where everything is same. Marriage, to me, could be a solution in the sense that, take for instance, you guys are running a business together. Your kids are watching you, they are seeing you as mentors in business. You never can tell. Tomorrow, when you guys are old, they could take over that business. So it's not the physical wealth that you transfer to them, but what are the values that you are transferring to them. Running this business alone, you are transferring some values that money cannot buy to them. So now they understand discipline, financial discipline, time discipline, customer service. These are things naturally they just take from your business.
And you can't learn that in
You
school.
can't learn that in school. And when they get to the larger society, they are able to bring those values into turning around wherever they find themselves. So marriage, to me, plays a very vital role in the society, because through marriage, you are able to begin to change the narratives of what the society becomes through yourself, through your kids, through the people that are working with you. We might not have the opportunity to go out there and change the whole world. But the people around you, the way you influence them, they are able to go out also to influence people like that.
Actually,
I believe it was Gandhi that says, if you want to change the world, you start with yourself.
With yourself.
the numbers and the data speaks for marriage. I think if you kind of look at the data out there, research shows that married people often do better financially than their counterparts that are not married. And that gap widens as they get older. And that's science. That shows that when people are married, financially, they tend to do better.
That's true.
Right? So in sort of addressing that question, I think that speaks a lot for marriage, and two heads are always better than one. Yeah. When two people are able to financially come together and become one, there's so much more they can achieve. I was talking earlier about when God said, there's nothing these people cannot do because they are one and they speak the same language. A lot of times when you see marriages that are sort of struggling financially, it's because someone has broken that pact of becoming one. You see situation where one of the couple has a secret bank account somewhere, or they're doing things financially that the other is not aware of. We've heard stories of maybe someone building a house back home and not telling their spouse. The moment you start breaking that pact, you're no longer one. Which is a requirement to do well financially, is that you're one and you speak the same language. You're able to communicate with each other. So I truly believe that getting married is a key to financial success as well.
Thank you very much. And for me?
I think it's just practical. When you have two people, something even as simple as buying a house now, it's easier for a couple to buy a house. I mean, two financial incomes, definitely better than one. Two people raising kids and making all the decisions, definitely better than one. It's just better generally in life when you have a partner, not just any partner, a partner that you can trust and that is on your team. Because, like I always tell my friends, and sometimes, people say, oh, you should take some money out and, go sneak and, people will say these things, and I always tell people that even if you do those things in secret, whatever you sow, you reap. Somehow it is going to affect your marriage, if you like it or not. And in a society where everything is crumbling, it's nice to have a partner with decision making, with finding money, with finding businesses, it's just better. It's just better.
So let me just ask you this question. Are you exposing your children to this business?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, we have them come and help out at the bakery. I mean, last week or so, we were teaching my son how to attend to customers. And, while we're building a business and building a legacy, they might not end up taking over our business. We are aware of that. But that ethic of if you work hard, you would see, it makes it easier to see results. We are trying to teach them that as they grow, and just having a sense of pride in, always talking to them about what business do they want to create, what do you want to be, what are your plans, and investing in that for them. I mean, my husband will buy, my youngest son, for example, who is interested in comic books and filming and things like that. My husband will buy apps and buy things to help him. My son that is interested in coding and building games is paying for coding. How are you going to build? So we encourage them, to think business-like.
If you take a look at the traditional model of business, the African traditional model, our parents or grandparents that were farmers, they will not go to the family. They will take the kids out.
Which is why they had so many children.
So many wives.
Many of us today, we came through that generation. We are not farmers, but there are some values that we're able to learn from that. Bringing that into the current business model, for us at STO Global Concept, let me even start before STO. My mom was a fashion designer, and I just took natural interest. I will sit on the machine, I will pedal the machine, along the line, I began to know how to sew.
Nice.
So right now, even at times, I will sit down, even now, and I will just sit down with my machine, I will sew some stuffs.
So I can send some material.
So I could do that. Now, starting next year, Global Concepts, we understood that we needed some technical support, and somehow it wasn't something that we sat our daughter to educate her about, but she just understood the passion with which we were doing what we were doing,
Right.
and she saw a vacuum, and she just piqued interest naturally. Right now, she does all our graphics.
That's amazing.
How she learned it, I'm still not able to figure it out. She just walked up to us one day, and it was a challenge because someone that we had depended upon
Right.
was called back not to do that for us anymore. Part of the challenges of acceptability.
Right.
And our daughter said, "Daddy, don't worry, I can do it." She never knew how to do it.
Wow.
And she went on YouTube, started learning different things. She started gradually. And today, wow, anything you see from STO Global Concepts, when it's graphics, it's done by her.
She might need to start a business too.
Oh yeah, sure. As a matter of fact, I told her once you are 18,
Yeah.
you are setting up that business.
Exactly.
I'm going to support you with everything
That's right.
because I'm not going to allow what you have learned from this to just
Yeah.
go to waste.
Yeah.
No, we're going to make money from this.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Akintunde, you have something to answer
Well,
that?
I was going to say, like, just as an example, our firstborn is turning 13 in just a few days. And we had said to him, once you turn 13, you become an employee of Arabelle's bakery.
Perfect.
And he's so excited about that. That's all he talks about now. Not necessarily because we're planning for them to take over the business, but I think there's a lot they can learn through the process.
Yes.
A lot of times we think God is more interested in like us making money or in having a successful business. What God is most interested in is our progress along
Yes.
the way.
Yes.
Who we are becoming while we're. If God tells you, go over there and grab that cup of water, He doesn't so much care about the cup of water. He cares about who you become
In between.
on the journey to
The
grab that
process.
cup of water.
The process.
And for me, I've always been most interested in, even with starting the business, who are we becoming?
Yeah.
The business is just one of those milestones and challenges along our journey in life.
Yes.
Like I always say to my wife, what's most important is who we are becoming as a
Yes.
result of it.
Yes.
With the children being exposed to this atmosphere of, people that have a lot of determination and tenacity, hard work, and, starting a business, what's going to happen to them? Who do they become?
Yeah.
That's the experiment for
Yes.
us. In sort of seeing what happens. How does it inform the men they become later in life?
Thank you very much. It's been such an exciting and informative session today. So, the last question, but not the least, what advice do you have for our viewers, for me?
I would say be ready that it's going to be challenging. And if you're going to do that, make sure that your marriage is solid. It's solid, and making sure that you fight for your marriage while you're developing your
Building the
business.
business.
Like I always tell my husband, and when we're having those fights, I told him, I said, even I'm ready to walk away if it's going to save my marriage.
Marriage.
I would give up the bakery
bakery.
in a second if my marriage is going to be okay. Nothing is worth
Yeah.
destroying that marriage, because if I have that business and I don't have
The
my
marriage,
husband, and I don't have my family, that business is useless to me.
Yeah.
It's not going to create any happiness for me. So people become workaholics, and you start to make choices that chip at the foundation of your marriage.
Yeah.
That does not make any sense. The home comes first.
Comes first. Thank you very
So
much.
anything you do, even when you start the business, make sure that your home is on a solid foundation, because financially you will fight over finances. You will fight over, if you're not
over everything.
solid, it will break your marriage down.
Yeah.
So my biggest advice would be invest first. If you know you don't have a stable home, then it might not be a good idea
To start a
business together. So
Yeah.
solidify your home first.
Okay.
And then dip your leg into it.
Those are quite blunt and
Straightforward.
Right.
Yes.
advices.
Yeah.
Well, I think sort of building on what she said, like even the Bible talks about how if you're going out to do anything, you have to count the cost first before you jump into it. Starting a business as a couple, you're building on a foundation.
Yes.
If that foundation is
It's not
crumbly
solid.
or cracked, it's gonna fail at the end of the day. So that's one advice, that before you jump in, work on your togetherness. Become one, speak the same language before you build anything on top of it. The second one was what we had touched on investing in your spouse. You kind of have to think about it that two people in a marriage is like they both have individual bank accounts. You are either withdrawing from that bank account or you're making deposit into it. What you don't want to do is to withdraw more than you put into the account,
Yeah.
right? If you're always doing things that is withdrawing from your spouse's account and it's now in a negative, and then you go and want to withdraw $1,000, what you will get will be a lot of friction. So once you have that mentality that you can't withdraw from where you haven't deposited, now you have to focus your marriage on depositing, going out on dates, doing things
Yes.
that hit their love language, like building them up. When you've done that, there's no perfect human being that wouldn't withdraw at some point.
Yes.
You would mess up, you would make mistakes. We're all humans
Yeah.
and we're all broken.
Yes.
Marriage is two broken people coming together
together.
trying
Yeah.
to find a balance.
Yes. Well, last
Yeah.
word.
Last words, I will just encourage every couple and intending couples out there to understand that marriage is not a bed of roses. And setting up a business, it comes with its challenges, and the marriage first before the business,
Yes.
and follow your passion. And my final word will be, thank you for pulling me in.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for me. Thank you so much, Akintunde, and thank you, Gbolahan. And don't go away. I will be right back. Viewers, I bet it with you. The last two episodes had been a very wonderful and interesting one on your program, The Platform, and that is Entrepreneur and Marriage. The institution of marriage has been and still is the bedrock of every society. Surely its societal importance and continued relevance in today's world cannot be undermined. In the past, marriage was seen as a form of social and economic security. In developed economies, marriage is a source of financial protection. It brings with it various financial benefits, such as that of tax and insurance, incentives, expenditure, co-payments, and even spending accountability. Marriage generates social capital as well as the social bonds created through the marriage via the institution of the family yield benefits, not just for the family itself, but also to the larger society, as it promotes pro-social behaviors that ultimately benefit the society. Viewers, God has called us into a family, and we must cooperate together to accomplish the purpose of God. To be married couples, by marriage, we have become one body and have essentially lost the sense of individualism. Although it may be tempting to separate and go solo, but it is a sure route to insignificance, because we all need the cooperation of our God-given family members, particularly our spouse, to reach the heights of greatness. And this is where I will be drawing the curtains on today's edition of your program, The Platform. Till I come your way again, continue to inspire and transform the world with love. I remain your host, Bumi Oduntan. See you later.